Today, I'm not just going to talk about nervous system healing in a vague way. I'm going to show you what it actually looks like in real life, why so many people stay stuck even after they read all of the books and they listen to all the podcasts, and what you can start doing to actually change your experiences. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I've been doing all of the healing things, trying to heal myself, like reading the books, listening to the podcast, watching the videos, learning the psychology, trying to understand my patterns, but I still feel just as anxious and I still feel just as stuck and I still feel overwhelmed. And I still find myself reacting in the same ways that I said that I was going to stop reacting in. If this is you saying this to yourself in this video, and it's really for you. Because in this video, I'm not just going to talk about healing in this vague and inspirational way like you hear in a lot of these videos. I'm going to walk you through the practical road to nervous system regulation that's going to help you get there step by step. What that actually looks like, what to expect, why it can feel so hard at first, and how all of this work, it can really begin to change your life in real tangible ways. And I want to say this right from the beginning. A lot of people are out there giving you information and advice and guidance. A lot of people are helping you name your wounds. A lot of people are helping you try to understand why you are the way you are. And all of that matters. It's all important. But understanding yourself is not always the same thing as changing your experience. You can be deeply self-aware of something that you're doing and still feel trapped in the same nervous system patterns and the same patterns. I know I was for an extremely long time, and I'm still a work in progress. So I want to say that you can know exactly why you do what you do and still not know how to stop doing it. And that's the key. That right there is where so many people get discouraged because they start thinking, what is wrong with me? Why do I understand this, but I can't change it? Why do I know better, but I keep doing it? And the real and simple answer to this is because healing, it's not just cognitive. Healing is physiological. Healing is relational. Healing is nervous system deep. And if you want to create a different life, and if you want to become someone who can actually hold peace, who can hold love, who can hold boundaries, who can hold clarity, who can hold rest, who can hold healthy relationships, who can hold success without sabotaging it, then your nervous system has to be part of that work. It has to be. This is what being secure within yourself is all about. It's not just know yourself. It's not just love yourself. It's not just setting boundaries. It's learning how to live your life from safety instead of from survival. It's moving from survival to thriving. And that right there, that changes everything because your nervous system, it really shapes so much of your experience. Your nervous system, it shapes how you feel, how you react, how you interpret other people, how safe love feels to you, how safe rest feels, how safe visibility feels, how safe success feels, how safe change feels. And it also influences whether you move towards what is good for you or whether you pull away from it because your body reads it as danger. And that is why your nervous system healing matters so much. And that's because when your nervous system is dysregulated, life can feel harder than it needs to feel. I'm telling you, that is the case. And that's not because you're weak. That's not because you're broken. And it's not because you're failing at anything. It's because your body is trying to protect you. And when your body has learned to survive more than it has learned to settle into calm, then peace can actually feel unfamiliar to you. And love, it can feel unsafe, and rest can make you feel guilty, and healthy relationships can feel boring, and being seen, it can feel dangerous, and doing something new, that can feel threatening to you. And that's all because your body and your nervous system just learned to survive. So let's talk about why this work matters. Because regulating your nervous system, it's not just about calming down. It's not about feeling less anxious, even though that's a perk of it. It's not just about stress management, even though that's another perk. It's about building the internal capacity to live differently. Because when your nervous system becomes more regulated, then you build more capacity for life. You build more capacity to handle stress without falling apart. You build more capacity to stay present in difficult conversation. You build more capacity to feel emotion without getting swallowed up by that emotion. You build more capacity to choose from truth instead of choosing from fear or staying frozen from fear. You build more capacity to tolerate uncertainty, to walk into uncertainty, to step out of your comfort zone. You build more capacity to receive good things without panicking about it. You build more capacity to stop confusing activation, your body being activated, with your intuition. You build more capacity to stop abandoning yourself and your choices. And all of that matters so much because so many people are not making choices from their actual truth. They're making their choices from survival. And they stay in the unhealthy situation because leaving feels unsafe. They leave the healthy situation because staying in something healthy feels unsafe. They overfunction because slowing down feels unsafe. They people please because disappointing someone feels unsafe. They avoid intimacy because being truly known feels unsafe. They sabotage opportunities because growing feels unsafe. So yes, your nervous system matters. It leads to all of this. It matters in your relationships. It matters in your healing. It matters in your identity. It matters in your calling. It matters in your physical health. It matters in your ability to create a life that actually feels like your life, your choices, your decision, how you want to live it. And I really want you to hear me when I say this. You are not permanently trapped by past trauma or by the chronic stress responses that you learn, like the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. Your nervous system adapted to these patterns to keep you safe and to survive, but it can rewire the patterns in order to experience calm and in safety in the present, which will help you move from merely surviving to actually living your life. So yes, the answer is yes. Your system can change. It can become safer. It can become steadier. It can learn that the present is not the past. It can learn that love is not always danger. It can learn that rest doesn't equal failure. It can learn that your voice is allowed. You are allowed to have a voice. You are allowed to speak up. It can learn that boundaries are not abandonment, that they're actually good, that they're healthy. It can learn that peace is not a trap, that we need peace, that we need to disconnect, that we need to recharge. But these types of changes happen through practice, not just insight, understanding. So let's get practical here. The first thing you need to understand is that your nervous system has patterns. Some people live in a lot of activation. Their body tends to go into anxiety, urgency, irritability, racing thoughts, hypervigilance, overthinking, overdoing, fear, frustration. Some people tend to go the other way, where the body goes into shutdown, where it's numbness, it's low energy, it's disconnection, it's heaviness, it's hopelessness, exhaustion, where it's like collapse. And then there's some people who live in both of those worlds right there, where it's oscillating between the two. And they feel stuck or they feel frozen. Like, I need to do something, but I cannot move. Like, I know what I need to do, but something in me just won't let me do it. And then there are moments of regulation, moments where you feel present, where you feel steady, where you feel clear, where you feel open, where you feel more like yourself. And what we want here is not perfection. We just want to increase your access to safety, to steadiness, to security within yourself. And the way we do that is not through one huge big breakthrough. It's through small, repeated experiences of safety. And that right there, that's how nervous system healing and regulation works. And honestly, this is where people get frustrated because they want one tool for the moment when they are already spiraling. They want one trick for their panic, one quick fix for the shutdown, one perfect answer for the overthinking. And while tools in those moments can help, the real change comes from what you practice consistently. And this is the part that people skip right here. Healing your nervous system works a lot like strengthening a muscle, people. That's what it works. That's how it works. So if you go to the gym once every few weeks, you're probably not going to get some major change that you're wanting to see. Not because your body is bad, and not because the workout doesn't work, But it's because you're not showing up repeatedly. And repetition is what creates change. And the same thing is true for here. Your nervous system changes through repetition. Your nervous system changes through consistent experiences that teach your body that I am safe now, that I can come back, that I do not have to stay in survival, that I can move through activation without becoming it. And this is the work. And it's not glamorous work. It's not flashy, but it is life-changing. So here's the practical path, okay? Step 1 is to learn the difference between coping and regulating, because there is a huge difference between the two. Because a lot of people think they're regulating when they're actually just coping. I used to think of this too. I used to be in the same exact mindset. And there is no shame to coping. We all cope. Coping helped us to survive, but coping and regulating are not the same thing. A coping strategy, what it does, it helps you disconnect from distress. But a regulating strategy, what it does, it helps your body move through the distress, because distress always will happen. Distress will happen. So it helps teach you how to move through it. So coping, it covers it, and regulation, it processes it. Coping says things like, this is too much, I need out, I need to run away. And regulation, what it does, it says things like, this is a lot. Let me help my body come back. And this is important because many of us built lives around coping strategies and thought that we were doing just fine. We were using coping strategies like doom scrolling or scrolling down on social media, overthinking, over-exercising, emotional eating, shopping, drinking wine every night, staying busy, numbing out with the TV, over-talking, overthinking, seeking constant reassurance, doom scrolling, shutting down, isolating, obsessing, obsessively thinking, micromanaging. And again, no shame. I've been there, I've done that with several of those things. But these strategies are often incredibly adaptive. And the reason that they're adaptive is because they helped us get through what our body did not know how to process. But if you want healing, you cannot only rely on what helps you escape your internal experience. You need practices that help your body actually move through your internal experiences. And one question that can really help with this is, am I doing this practice to become more present? Or am I doing this to disconnect from myself and from my life? Because that question will tell you a lot. So that brings us to step 2, which is to build your regulating toolbox. You need actual things you can do that can help your body come back to the present. Not just things that look good on paper, not things that you think you should be doing, but things that actually help your body feel safer, feel steadier, feel more present, to feel more connected. And for some people that might look like going outside or going for a walk or stretching your body or shaking your body, shaking it, or listening to music, or breathing, or putting your hand on your chest, or rocking, just rocking back and forth, just rocking, or just sitting in the sun, or talking to a safe person, or just being with your dog or your cat, or crying, or praying, or humming, or dancing in your kitchen, or just sitting in silence, or wrapping yourself in a blanket, or placing your feet on the floor and noticing the support that your feet on the floor are bringing you. And then for some people, it may look like creative expression. It could look like things like journaling or drawing or cooking or being near water or nature or just gentle movement or just sitting in your car for 5 quiet minutes before going inside the house. But your regulating toolbox should be personal. It should be based on you and what works for you. And I really do want you to try to write it down. Not just think about it, but actually write it down. Write down a few of these things that will help you regulate. Because when you're activated, your brain is usually not in the best access point of remembering what helps you. So make it easier for yourself by creating a literal list of regulating things. A list of what helps me feel more here. What helps me feel safer in my body? What helps me feel less alone? What helps me come back to myself? Because that list right there, it really does matter. So write it down. Put it in your memo pad on your phone. Save it. Do something where it's quick, easy access. Write it down. Put it in a magnet on your fridge. Put it on your front door, your bedroom door, your mirror. Put it somewhere where you're going to have access to it. Now let's talk about step 3. Step 3 is to stop waiting until you are in full spiral to do something. This is another big one because most people only reach for support when they are already so deeply dysregulated. And again, of course they do. I know I did. It makes sense. You're super regulated, so then that's when you're drowning and you're like, I need some help. But the real reshaping happens when you practice regulation before the moment becomes so overwhelming. And this is what builds capacity here. This is what teaches your body a new pattern. And this is what begins to interpret your automatic survival loops. So I want you to build regulation into your regular life. Not only when you're in crisis life or crisis mode, set reminders, put sticky notes up. Choose a few moments during the day, every single day, to check in with yourself and ask yourself, where am I right now? What state is my body in? Do I feel present? Or do I feel activated, collapsed, or disconnected, or frozen, or scattered, or whatever? How am I feeling? Because just asking yourself those questions alone is very powerful, because you cannot lead yourself into well if you are disconnected from your internal state. So being secure within yourself requires awareness of what's going on without shaming yourself for what's going on. So you don't want to talk to yourself saying things like, what's wrong with me now? Instead, what is happening in me right now? What does my body seem to need right now? How do I respond to myself instead of abandoning myself? That shift right there, that's a shift, and it's such an important one. So watch how you're communicating and talking to yourself and how you're perceiving things. Then step 4 is to gently notice what is happening inside of you. Before you regulate, try to pause just for a moment and notice, what am I feeling in my body? Is there tightness in my body? Am I feeling pressure anywhere? Am I feeling hot or heated? Is anything feeling numb? Is there any heaviness that I'm feeling? Buzzing? Restlessness? Do I feel a lump in my throat or a pit in my stomach? Is my chest racing? Do I have this sinking kind of feeling? How is your body feeling? Then notice what emotion might be here with this feeling, okay? Is there fear? Is there sadness? Is there anger? Is there shame? Is there loneliness? Is there overwhelm? So what am I feeling? What emotion goes along with that feeling? And then notice what story is showing up in those moments as well. What am I afraid of? What am I afraid that this means? What is my body bracing for? You don't have to go digging. You don't have to overwhelm yourself. You are not forcing some giant emotional awakening to happen. You are just building the skill of being with yourself. Because healing, it requires reconnection. A lot of people are walking around deeply self-protective and deeply self-abandoned at the same exact time. They're disconnected from what they feel. They're disconnected from what they need. They're disconnected from what their body is trying to say to them. So part of regulation is learning how to come back into contact with your experience in a way that feels tolerable. And you're not going to do this all at once because you do not want to flood your system. You are going to do it just enough to say, I'm here. I notice. I'm listening. That's it. We're starting small. Then step 5 is to use a regulating tool. Now that you have noticed what is happening, you have to do something that helps your body shift. And this right here, it matters because healing is not just naming the state. It's helping the body move. And that may look like you standing up and shaking your arms, or taking a slow walk, or placing your hand on your heart and breathing deeper, or stepping outside, or calling someone safe, or stretching, or crying, or humming, or rocking, or putting on music and letting your body just sway to the music, or sitting with your pet, or orienting yourself to the room that you're in and naming what you see around the room. Because what you're doing here is trying to help your body come out of isolation and to come out of survival and to help your nervous system update. So you're showing it that we are not back there, that this feeling right now is real, but it is not the whole entire story. that we can move through this, that I can stay with myself in these moments. And this right here is where the real transformation begins. Because every time you do this, you're teaching your body something new, something healthy. You're teaching your body to be secure within, that we've got this. I support you, that I love you enough to stay present with you. And then step 6 is to rest and to notice. After you use a regulating tool, then you pause again and you ask yourself, what feels different now? Not, am I completely healed? Or is everything fixed? Or why am I not calm enough yet? Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. Ask yourself, what shifted? Even if it's just a tiny, tiny little shift, what shifted? Maybe your chest feels just 5% softer. Maybe your breathing got deeper. Maybe your jaw that was so clenched is now unclenched. Maybe you feel a little less panicked. Maybe you feel a little bit more energy. Maybe you feel just a little less frozen. Or maybe you are more aware of the room that around you and where you're at. Maybe the pressure in your body has eased just a little bit. And that little tiny shift, it counts. It matters. So do not underestimate the subtle changes. And this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make in the healing process, is that they underestimate those subtle changes. They dismiss the small shifts because they are still waiting for some dramatic, huge movie scene transformation to happen. But nervous system healing, often it happens through the small repeated changes, the moments of, oh, that feels a little different. Or, oh, I was able to come back a little bit quicker this time. Or, oh, I didn't spiral as hard as I usually do. Or, oh, I caught that. I noticed that sooner. Or, oh, I stayed with myself instead of disappearing and running away. Or, oh, I told the truth instead of just trying to please everybody. Or, oh, I let myself rest and be okay with that and that moment without all of that guilt that I normally feel. And those things, those are not small. That is the work. That is how we build a different life. So step 7 is to expect expansion or growth and contraction or release. You got to expect both of those to happen. And this is the part that's important, because if you do not understand this, you might think that healing and this journey that you're on is not working. But healing is honestly rarely linear. You will have moments where you feel more open, more grounded, more yourself. And then you will have moments where you react the exact same unhealed ways again. You get activated again, you get triggered again, you get scared again, you shut down again. That does not mean you are failing. That doesn't mean that you are back at square one. That doesn't mean that it didn't work. It means that your nervous system is learning through repetition. Expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. Over time, the expansion gets longer and the contraction gets shorter, but you got to expect that to happen to be the case. The return, it will get easier. The recovery will get faster. The shame will get quieter, and the self-trust will get stronger over time. That is progress. It happens over time. It is not linear. It is not fast. And that doesn't mean that you're never getting triggered again, but knowing how to come back, that right there is what's important. That is being secure within yourself. It's not about perfection. That's not what we're shooting for. It's not about emotional performance. It's not about never struggling again, but it's about becoming able to lead yourself back to safety, knowing that you can get through whatever you're about to face, that you can get back to the truth, back to the steadiness, back to the alignment. And you can do this again and again and again and again, and you can do it. It's about knowing that you have the ability to get through it. Now, step 8 is to change how you talk to yourself while you're healing. And this matters more than people realize, because a lot of people are doing the work, but then they're speaking to themselves in ways that keep them in survival mode. So they regulate for a moment, and then immediately after that, they attack themselves and they say things like, why am I still like this? This is ridiculous. I should be over this by now. Other people can do this. What's wrong with me? Why can't I? I'm just too much, or I'm failing, or I'm never going to get to change, or I'm never going to be able to be who I want to be. That inner voice right there matters. How you talk to yourself, it matters. Because if every time you come back to yourself, or every time you regulate, or every time you have a small victory, you meet yourself with criticism, your body does not experience that as safety. How could it? And if you want your nervous system to heal, you have to become a safer place for it to come home to. So I want you to practice talking to yourself differently. Try, okay, this makes sense. Or my body right now, it's trying to protect me. Or I'm learning. Or I noticed that. Or I came back. Or that right there, that matters. Or I don't need to shame myself into healing. Or I can be with myself while I grow. Or look what I'm doing here. I'm building capacity. Or I'm not behind. Or my peace is allowed. I am allowed to have peace. Or I'm allowed to heal in a human way. Because saying things like those to yourself, that matters. The way you speak to yourself either deepens the safety and allows you to return and come back to that, or it deepens the threat and causes you to be dysregulated and want to run away. And I also want to say this. Some of the life that you want may not feel safe at first, and that is so real. Because healthy love, it may feel so unfamiliar to you, or rest, it may feel so unfamiliar to you. Boundaries, it may feel unfamiliar to you. Being chosen may feel unfamiliar to you. Being seen may feel unfamiliar to you. Financial growth, that might feel unfamiliar to you. Joy might feel unfamiliar to you. Consistency might feel unfamiliar to you. But just because it feels unfamiliar doesn't mean it's wrong. Your body may initially read it as danger, and that's just what it's doing. It's danger because it's unfamiliar. It does not automatically mean that it's wrong. It's just unfamiliar. Sometimes what is good for you does not always feel comfortable at first. Sometimes healing is not learning how to change instantly. It's learning how to stay with what is actually healthy long enough for your body to stop calling healthy danger. And that right there, that's so huge. That's such a huge shift, because a lot of people keep leaving what is good for them, what is healthy, what's good for their body. They over-explain what is true. They second-guess what is healthy, or cling to what is familiar but harmful to them, because their nervous system has yet learned the difference between familiar and safe. And that is part of the work. So if I could leave you with anything here, I want it to be this. You do not need more shame. You do not need to bully yourself into transformation. You do not need to wait for some perfect healing moment. You do not need to figure your whole life out today, right now, during this video. What you need to do is you need to practice. You need compassion. You need repetition. You need awareness. You need tools. You need safety. You need support. You need new relationships with your body. You need new relationships with your patterns. You need a new relationship with yourself. Because the goal is not just to feel better. The goal is to become someone who can lead themselves differently. Someone who can notice without abandoning themselves. Someone who can feel without drowning. Someone who can choose without betraying themselves. Someone who can pause before reacting. Someone who can come back to truth. Someone who can tolerate peace. Someone who can hold healthy love. Someone who can build a life from alignment instead of fear. This is what the work gives you. One small rep at a time. One moment of awareness at a time. One act of self-return at a time. One nervous system shift at a time. And over time, those moments stack up and they become a new way of living. And that right there, that's how healing happens. This is how self-trust is built. This is how you stop just understanding your wounds and you start transforming your life. And that right there, that's the heart of becoming secure within yourself. So maybe it's time just to step up and to step in and take it one step at a time, one moment at a time. So thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.